playing Sim.
He's gonna do the very best he can.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. And in this series we're going to be going over Saturn in the houses, okay? Saturn in the houses, and in this episode we're going to be talking about the 4th house, okay? So having Saturn in your 4th house. And before we get into that, I want to remind you guys, if you enjoyed the little promo in the beginning of this video, that's my music, okay? That's my music video. Definitely check it out. I have the link in the description box below, and you can check it out. Really appreciate that. But yes, Saturn in the 4th house. And before we get into that, let's just go over what Saturn is and what the 4th house is. Saturn in astrology is all about discipline, structure, responsibility, okay, labor, work, building, restrictions, okay? And all of this is meant for us to be more disciplined. Saturn in your chart is going to represent where you have to be more disciplined. It's also going to represent where things are tough, okay? Things feel tough. A lot of times people can have even a bad relationship with Saturn because it feels so tough. But all of this is to build you, okay? You got to think about all the Saturn rules buildings, and you got to think about it. How are these buildings made? It's through labor, it's through work, okay? It's through responsibility, you know, all of that. So even though it can seem so restrictive with Saturn, it's meant for you to be more disciplined. It's an area in your life where you need more responsibility, and it's an area in your life where you need to work hard, okay? Saturn also rules your career. Okay, again, your career, your big job, the big projects you're here to do in life. What is your purpose, okay? When you look at your career, you have to work hard for it. It's not as simple. It's not the same as like a 9 to 5. You know, your career will put you in a bigger position. It'll put you in a management position. Your career could be your own business, okay? So lots of sacrifices, lots of work, lots of building before you reach the top. But that is Saturn. It's like climbing a mountain to the top, and then you finally reach the top. You did all that hard work. That is Saturn. So Saturn can definitely feel very restrictive and hard and tough, but it's to make you very hard and tough. And if you go by the laws of Saturn, you become more responsible, more resilient, and disciplined to handle it, and successful, okay? That's why it rules your career. So Saturn's trying to make you successful through the hard way, all right? Because everything isn't easy in life, okay? Some things, you know, we're blessed with, like Jupiter, and some things we got to work hard for, like Saturn. And then you have the 4th house. The 4th house deals with our families, okay? Our emotional development, okay? Because our emotional development is first started from our families. That's where we create our first relationships with, okay? This is going to determine our emotional health, okay? How good was the relationship with your families? And based off of that, that's going to determine how you emotionally connect with other people later in life, okay? 4th house can determine, you know, your psychological issues, deep wounds, okay? Shadow work as well too, all right? So that's the 4th house, your family, your emotional development. So the first thing I can say, okay, with Saturn 4th house people is that this is like strict family, okay? These are people who come from very strict families, lots of rules, lots of regulations, lots of restrictions. Your parents you're the type of people to let you go out and just do anything. Everything had to be work first, okay? They could have restricted a lot of things from you, okay? Lots of restrictions. You know, maybe other families you saw, they could do all this fun stuff. They can go out here, and with your family, it was always tough. It was always work first, and lots of rules and boundaries being put, you know, onto you, okay? So very strict household, and it can be stressful, you know, Saturn in the 4th house, you know, having this kind of strong, you know, restrictive energy all the time. You know how it is when, you know, kids are raised in strict families, you know, it can be very, very, very tough, all right? But overall, if it does work out, or if you do take it in a positive way, this can give lots of responsibility and discipline within the family, okay? One thing about Saturn 4th house people is these families are very structured, okay? Very, very structured, very organized, very responsible, and work-orientated. Another thing with Saturn in the 4th house people is your family will be very career work-orientated, like 100%. They're going to put a lot of pressure on you to do well in school. They're going to put a lot of pressure on you to find a career path and construct your life in a responsible way. So there's going to be a lot of emphasis on your work ethic. Okay, this could be a family that, you know, you have a schedule when you wake up. You got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do your chores, you got to do this, you know, you got to make sure you come up with A's in school. Like, very strict, very much about how are you being productive? How are you going to construct your life? You know, so your family's really going to be involved in, you got to go to school, you're going to have to go to college, you're going to have to, you know, make a living, you got to find a career. What are you going to do? Okay, how are you going to make your money? How are you going to construct your life? So very career orientated family. Your parents could be very busy people, workers as well too. Okay, so you could have seen your family always working on that, and honestly, constantly, I'm stressing you about work. Okay, reinforcing it to you that, see how hard life is. You gotta work. You gotta work. You gotta work. So, come from a family that's very disciplined, of course, like we said, but also very career orientated, trying to groom you to make a living for yourself later in the future, construct your life. All right. Another thing, though, however, with Saturn in the fourth house people, is that even though you have all this discipline and, you know, constructive like energy in your family and the way you're being nurtured, a lot of this creates blockages with emotions. Okay, Saturn isn't the most emotional planet. It's really not at all. Saturn's very practical, and that's how your family could have been. Very practical, not so emotional. It's about how do you perform? You know, are you getting good grades? Are you doing your chores? Are you being responsible? Versus the emotional stuff. Because you have to understand, fourth house is ruled by Cancer. So this deals with emotions. What makes a family the most nourishing is actually not responsibility, it's emotional care, it's nurture. But because Saturn here is in your fourth house, it's putting a lot of discipline and a lot of emphasis on work and practicality versus emotions and nurture. So saying that, you know, people born in these types of families, they can have a lack of emotional connection, okay? Lack of emotional connection in family. Yes, the family could be very successful. Your father can have a really good career. Your mother can have a really good career. You guys can appear very put together, a nice house, whatever, because everyone works hard. However, there's a lack of emotions, okay? There's a lack of emotional connection. There's a lack of nurture, okay? No one's really tending to your feelings and to your emotions. And because of that, that can develop you as a person who doesn't connect too much in the emotional level. Okay, you could be like uncomfortable with, you know, being too huggy. You know, you probably didn't have that. You know, you're with Saturn here in the fourth house, unless you have other planets here, it's aspect a certain way. A lot of times the emphasis was not on emotional care. It's about your performance, how you're working. And this affects you psychologically, because like I said, the fourth house, this is your first relationships. You're with your parents. This is how you are first connecting to the world. So having it in such a strict, disciplined way, it can take the emotions out of you. You cannot be comfortable being so, you know, emotional, so lovey-dovey. You know, you could be detached from your emotions because you don't come from that. You know, your family isn't about the nurture. They ain't nurturing you like that. Okay, they're more so trying to construct you and make you more responsible, and it's more practical. And that could lead to issues. You know, it could lead you to being distant from your emotions and not knowing how to connect to them because your parents didn't emphasize it. They didn't really care for it. And like I said, Saturn really isn't an emotional planet at all. So these people could be really hard in the heart, very dry. I wouldn't say dry, but I would say just not comfortable with being so connected to the emotions and nurturing, you know, because everything was more dry cut. Everything was about how you perform, how productive you are. Okay, and that could lead to, you know, issues with connecting with other people. Okay, in order to connect with other people, you need to be vulnerable. You know, emotional energy is water energy. flexible. It dissolves into anything, you know. And with Saturn being that hardcore energy, you know, you might not have that, you know, you might not have that extra care, but you kind of have to, because again, like I said, the fourth house is about your emotions, and your emotions is how you heal and nurture yourself. So because you're constantly working and you're more about being productive, you're missing out on nurturing yourself and being emotional, and it will affect the relationships you make in the future, because everything is about work and product. You're not connecting emotionally. Okay, you might not be healing yourself, you know, certain bad feelings that you have, or shameful feelings, or when you just feel bad, you don't know how to nurture yourself because the answer was always work, work, work. You know, are you doing well? And that's not life. That's not life 100%. So definitely be aware with that with Saturn fourth house, the way you're developed, okay, you can lack that emotional sensitivity. And not only does it affect the way you have relationships with other people, okay, you can be very closed, okay, very closed, like, but it can affect you. You know, you can struggle to heal yourself because you feel like if you're feeling bad, you got to go to work or you got to do something. And that's not the answer when you're talking about emotions. Okay, so definitely be mindful of that with having Saturn in the fourth house. It can really cause blockages within your emotions, okay? And it can be a hard time connecting with other people. And it can also be a hard time, you know, healing yourself and dealing with your own emotions. You know, you could just brush it to the side, and what happens is they don't go away. They just stack up, you know. So emotional awareness is hard for Saturn and fourth house people because of the way they were raised. Everything was about work, 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 career, 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 responsibility, responsibility. And that's how your parents nurtured you. That's how they rewarded you. That's how they connected to you. And therefore, that's how you're doing it with everyone else. But that's not emotions. That's not emotional connection. And as human beings, we all need that. Also, with Saturn in the fourth house, you could have very strong masculine figures in your family. Okay, and it doesn't matter about the gender. It could have been your father and your mother. Okay, masculine energy in terms of work, go, 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 go. Production, structure. That's all masculine energy. Okay, so you could have had just lots of like strong masculine examples in your family, always going to work, always being productive, you know, dealing with that side of life versus the more emotional side, like we stated before, the nurturing, the care. So you could even come with like maybe both of your parents had huge careers and they're always out the house working all the time, you know. So the but anyway, the examples that you were given were strong masculine energy. Okay, lots of strong masculine energy. Some people say Saturn's like feminine. I don't believe that at all. I believe Saturn is 100% very masculine, because it deals with your career, you know. And when you look at the traditional roles, okay, traditional roles, that's what I mean. You look at the traditional roles, the mother is the nurturer, whether the father is the worker. Okay, not saying that you're stuck in those roles, but talking about traditional, stereotypical roles in terms of masculine, feminine energy. And Saturn to me aligns a lot with the masculine energy. So lots of strong masculine examples, okay? Work, 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 construction, not caring about, you know, the emotions and the nurture and the care and all that motherhood type of energy, feminine energy. All right, so that can also have a huge influence on you because you'll be carrying a lot of masculine energy. You know, it's what was put into you, is how you were developed. So that's how you see, that's what you see as strength. That's what you connect and relate to. Also with Saturn in the fourth house, you can have your career within your family. So maybe your family was already had a business, like you had a family business, like your parents were in business with each other and they're all about business, and then they want to bring you into the family business as well too, so you take it on. Definitely a Saturn fourth house thing, family business, getting into your career with your family, okay, your work, your career being connected, associated with your family. Like I said, a family business, the business being, you know, passed down to you after, you know, working with your whole family. So that's another interesting thing too. You know, you could have your career within your family life. It could be set up that way. Also, you could just be working from home or having your business within home. This is also another placement for like working at home, because again, fourth house is your home. Okay, it's your secure area. And Saturn here is your business, okay? So having your business in your home, making your whole home life about your business, you know? So you don't, you know, your work in your home is the same thing. So working from home here is definitely a huge manifestation. But especially since it's Saturn, I would say it's like your career. This could be like your business, like you turned your whole house into like a business. You know, maybe you turn into a doctor's office and you live here and you also work here, or whatever businesses you get into, whatever job you get into. This is definitely a placement for that. You could definitely turn literally your home into your business. Also, another great thing with Saturn in the fourth house is that you come from a family that are really good providers. They could be really good at providing. Now, again, the emotional care, the nurture could definitely be lacking here. But you could have been with a family that always made sure there's food on the table. You know, they work all the time, so bills are paid. You know, there's structure in the home. You're in a nice house because your parents have careers and they work. So even though Saturn in the fourth house isn't nurturing emotionally, which is very important for the fourth house, that's the most important thing. However, they make great providers, because again, Saturn's all about responsibility, structure. This is having parents that make sure everything is good, making sure everything is structured in your life, making sure you have all the practical things in life, like your shelter, home, food, everything, making sure all of that is well intact. Saturn fourth house makes you a very responsible family person. So when you get older too, you know, because of the way you were developed, like, you value structure in your home. You know, that's a big deal with Saturn fourth house, okay? You value structure in your home. So yes, that is Saturn the fourth house. Very responsible, even very strict families. It's not the funnest, okay? Because like I said, the fourth house is about emotional care. And that's what everyone needs before anything. They just need love and emotional care, catering to your feelings. So it can be a little difficult because you're coming from strict families who are more about structure and responsibility, okay, than the sensitivity part. So definitely be careful with that, because you can create boundaries and restrictions when it comes to emotionally connecting to not only other people, which is going to affect your relationships, but also with yourself. You know, how are you going to nurture yourself? How are you going to do shadow work if you're not comfortable with your emotions because you were never taught to value it or tap into it? So definitely be mindful of that with Saturn fourth house people. But this is also a great place for like career. You know, you are literally developed into being very responsible and career orientated, and it can manifest in your home, turning your home into a business or going into the family business. All right, so that's Saturn in the fourth house. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and if you did, book a reading with me. I do astro tarot readings, okay? All you gotta do is email me. We could go forward with that. And check out my videos, my music. All of that will be in the link in the description box below. And I'll check you guys out on the next video.
Your back, you're only loyal.